Everybody, and welcome to day 2 of the SPL Summer Split. My name's Taco, and today I'll be joined here by Toli.
You know, European action today. We saw the Mixed International on Thursday earlier on. A lot of surprising results, and nothing more than resulting going to be today after the first day of European action.
And it should be a pretty exciting day as well, considering that we have so many very fun matchups that have played out for you guys. We're going to be kicking things off with Dignitas versus Burrito, which should be a pretty spicy matchup, no pun intended, with the Burrito team. They're formerly known as Optimus Gaming, so they are a team coming out of the relegations, and particularly the Challenger Circuit, and that's always a fun time.
And then further down the line, we're going to see the defending champions Energy take on Team Arrival, the only team to defeat Energy in a LAN setting.
And I mean, I think a lot of people are looking forward to this matchup, especially considering that Rival were able to show up at LAN. They've always had a little bit more struggle during the online stage, and for the summer split, this will really be their chance to show that they have fully transitioned from not just being a team that can perform in a LAN setting, but also can perform in the online split. Especially
considering both of these two teams didn't change their rosters between Season 3 and Season 4. Maybe the addition of Alpha Jackal certainly escalated them in that position.
And taking a look at the standings, you can already tell that it's Enix and Team Dignitas trailing ahead of everybody else after their sets on Thursday. Both of these teams had pretty excellent performances, so now it'll be on, the pressure's on for the rest of EU to try and catch up, and more importantly for Enix and Team Dignitas to try and maintain the leads they've already established.
Absolutely. Team Dignitas are coming in hot for this action because they 2-0'd Elevate earlier on Thursday. Now they're going to be talking about Burrito Esports. You know, not a team that's normally known in the SPL action, but two teams that is very known is that second set of the day.
Energy and Rival are two very critical teams to look at. We've already touched base on it. This is a team that Rival had the upset during the Gauntlet LAN, where they managed to find the clean set victory over Energy, knocking them out. And I think that that's a really important aspect, considering that they've got to have a little bit of confidence coming into this matchup.
Absolutely. You could tell Rival is hungry from the start of Season 4. Since they didn't change their roster at all, they're very confident with the players in their assets. And, you know, the jungler specifically, Ice Baby, his interview after he won the Gauntlet, you know, he put on the glasses and said he has adapted.
And you can tell that his gameplay overall has just significantly increased. You can see the confidence that he's clearly able to demonstrate. He's got a little bit of that adapting swagger that we saw when adapting was first making his debut. It seems as though Ice Baby has really started to find his stride. The question is, can he maintain it through this online portion?
The question remains, though, for adapting. Is he going to be the same adapting that we all know and love back in Season 3? Right before Super Regionals, we heard him in the interviews of how he was being compared to QvoFred back then, and that kind of lit a fire under the Adapt King. So he's going to be trying to get back his title in Season 4.
You can always tell that adapting is a player who just loves competition because he likes being at the head of it. And as somebody who's maintained that dominance for so long, now that these junglers such as Ice Baby, QvoFred, and all these other players are starting to contest him, the question is he going to try and bring this fuel back, or is he just kind of looking to make it work with his team?
There's a lot of unknown X factors whenever we talk about junglers or teams. There could be some team dynamic action, whether or not it's the junglers or even the soul laners between Deathwalker and Dimi. There's a lot of different styles that both of these players and teams bring to the table.
I think soul laners are a pretty crucial aspect to look at when it comes to a team environment, because soul laners, especially in this current meta, have a very strong tendency to control the pacing of the game. Deathwalker is that player who loves to be aggressive. He loves getting up in your face. Notorious for the Bologna pick already, and I mean, he made her popular again.
And not only that, he's made a lot of different builds popular, going for silver breastplate on certain Guardians in the solo lane to start things off, even rushing Mark of the Vanguard after completing off boots and having Death's Toll. Whereas Dimi, he puts himself in a position where he'll sacrifice himself in a losing matchup, you know, playing tier against Bologna. Not necessarily the best matchup pre-level 6 or 7, but once those team fights happen, Dimi's looking to make those rotations and look to be an unstoppable force.
He is always such a very controlling factor for Energy, especially in how hectic the team fights can play out. He always gets into the back line, managing to burn actives, and the setup potential that he provides to adapting and the rest of his teammates is just so important.
That's just the pure experience from this two-time defending world champion. Dimi has been the name when it comes to not only European soul laners, but probably in the world. It was him and Baskin talking about soul laners every single time, and it's time for Dimi to step it up in this set.
The question is, though, is Dimi still as desiring to play Smite as he once was? I mean, he's had talks about it before. It might be time to step it back and, you know, just retire, but I hope that we don't see any of that from Dimi anytime soon, because his gameplay is always really exciting.
Not at all, especially considering just how dominant he was in the past. I'm really excited for him to show us all what he has coming into the summer split of Season 4.
But before we can get into NRG versus Rival, we are going to be starting things off with Team Dignitas versus Burrito GG. And like I mentioned, Burrito is that team that they haven't necessarily played out already. They are the Challenger Circuit team qualifying from the relegations. So this is going to be a particularly interesting matchup for these two teams, because Burrito wants to ensure that they are going to maintain that same dominating performance that they had during the relegation stage. I think that that's a really important aspect looking at these two teams, and Dignitas are aware that Burrito GG can definitely put up a fight. So if they're able to put up the fight, I mean, that's something for Dignitas to certainly be wary of.
Absolutely. The players out of Burrito Esports, we're looking at Dzoni specifically out of that jungle role against QvoFred. Who's going to bring the pacing in the beginning of this game? I'm expecting Burrito to come up firing with an interesting strategy, but Dignitas being the more veteran team, they're going to prepare for that. Their earlier set against Elevate, they had a little bit of up and down action where Dignitas was winning the early game, losing mid, but then they came back very strong in that late game.
The Dignitas did look a little bit shaky in the mid lane performance, and I would say, if anything, it's more so I would pay attention to DeathPanter on Burrito. DeathPanter is a really important aspect of the team, and I just feel as though he's a very dominating player.
Absolutely. Both of these mid laners between DeathPanter and Lobster are going to be going at it today, and DeathPanter has been one of these players that we don't know too much of what's available, but he brings a certain kind of style to his teammates where he's looking to always just follow up his jungler, Dzoni, every single time, even making some solo plays every now and then.
And it is going to be actually Zyrhoes contesting DeathPanter in that mid lane. The boys did split it up, and I would say that it's a very interesting playstyle because DeathPanter is an aggressive mid laner, and Zyrhoes was looking very strong in his set on Thursday against Elevate. He's been favoring that soul pick lately, and I think that that's a very strong acquisition to his team.
And for good reason. A lot of these mage items in Season 4 has been very strong, and soul scales very well with a lot of magical power, especially with the heat. Once that gets maxed out, once that's available to be at 100% heat, you're looking to do a lot of damage and have a lot of attack speed in that late game.
And all around, just two very incredible teams. I mean, we haven't seen as much out of Burrito as we would like to, but now that they're having their shot in the big leagues with the competitiveness of the SPL, I think this will be an excellent time for them to really display that they are more than capable of competing with the rest of these European teams.
It's the true testing ground now of Burrito Esports. They've been involved in the Challenger Circuit for so long. Now they have a chance in the SPL. All 5 of these players are looking to make a name for themselves.
It could be a little bit nerve-wracking, though, and hopefully these two teams definitely, or at least Burrito in particular, find their stride, because it's always fun whenever you see these challenger teams come through the relegations and then perform not only in the top of the CC level, but also at their competitive level. So I am definitely really looking forward to watching these two teams perform. And before we get started with all of the matchups that we have going today, I want to take a second to remind you guys back at home that this isn't all the Smite action that we have going on for this weekend. We also have our promo where you party up with your friends and you get 3 times everything. That is worshippers, favor, and all around fantasy points too. So you want to make sure that you include all of that stuff and just play along with some of your Smite friends this weekend, because when you can have this much of an opportunity to earn so much, it's just so nice, especially the FP. You unlock so many chests with the season ticket especially, and plus it's just nice playing with your friends. So you want to make sure that you stay involved with all of the Smite action that we have going on. It's not just going to be Smite, but we do have some Smite matches coming towards you, and now we've got the casters to take it away for that.
Thank you very much, Taco. I'm Aggro, joined here. Totally, how did you were just... Okay, Totally here. Apparently.
Hi.
And we're getting ready to go. European SPL is going to start us off. It's going to be Dignitas up against Burrito. As you guys were talking about on the desk, Dignitas, an established European team. This is a team that's been there, done that. Burrito still trying to get their footing.
Absolutely, but the question remains is how strong can Dignitas be at every stage of the game? We saw them against Elevate.
Yeah.
They were struggling a little bit during the mid-game. Can they clean up that portion of the game and still finish strong?
Well, that's what they're going to have to do. You want to get it started correctly. As you mentioned, Dignitas did so. They've got 3 points already on the season. Let's get it going right away. Picks and bans for game number 1 between Team Dignitas and Burrito Esports. And Dig, they're in that first pick position, immediately banning away the Circuit.
Taking that option away from Dzoni. He's known to play very aggressive with very mobile gods. This is a great option, especially whenever QvoFred doesn't necessarily want this pick. He has so many different options for himself that he's willing to sacrifice one god off the table to get his team in a better position.
Well, after the Bologna, Fafnir, and Robin bans, Dignitas, Osiris is the open selection, and that's, I think, where they're going to go, and that's exactly right. That's going to be for variety in that solo lane. That's been a consistent strategy we've seen early in this SPL season, totally. It's ban away Bologna or Osiris and take the one that's left open.
2 of the most aggressive gods, but you're also forgetting the Robin that could be flexed between that solo and the jungle position, and those 2 gods between Bologna and Osiris have been known to make a lot of early game aggressive plays, whether it's the 1v1 solo lane action or paired up with a jungler and starting to invade those blues and speeds.
Well, look at what Burrito's done here. They take away the Soul and Cernunnos from Team Dignitas, 2 characters that Dignitas has played very consistently, particularly that Soul. Zyrhoes first picked this for Dignitas on Thursday, so I like what they did on the response, but this leaves open Terra and the Morrigan.
We haven't seen Morrigan very often, at least in Thursday's action in the summer split. A little bit here, a little bit there in the spring split. Nothing to really write home about, but there are several options still because Hunbats is available. There could be a lot of other junglers that have to be very calculated before you pick this next option because Team Dignitas will have that ultimate.
Yeah, they don't want to give up that Circuit ultimate. That's banned away, or the Hunbats, as you mentioned. Khepri going to be the selection for Burrito, so we know their duo lane is going to be a very potent one between the Cernunnos and the Khepri. Dignitas, they're looking at the Warriors already with that Hercules ban. Burrito, they're looking at Arkkyl, banning away his Rom and Hu Yi. And it's going to be the Nemesis to make sure that Burrito can't shred through those tanky targets.
Nemesis is definitely a great god selection to be able to take away some mobile options, but you're leaving away the global presence out of the Thor. Ratatasker was still available, but Thor is a little more consistent about being able to set up your mid laner from a distance with that tectonic rift, not having to commit with the hammer, could just go for the poke very easily, which is why Thor has never really left the meta. He's just hibernating.
No, he's right there, right on the cusp all the time. It's going to be Jing and Camazotz rounding it out for Dignitas. And Dzoni played this Thor during relegations and looked great doing it. I think that was the god that he looked the most comfortable on, so I really like that selection for Burrito thus far. Dignitas, they've got an interesting sort of roster here as Nike going to be the final selection for Burrito. I'm assuming that's going to be the Morrigan in the mid lane, and you would assume that that's Camazotz in the jungle, but Variety has played a lot of Camazotz solo previously, so we'll have to wait and see. You don't have to wait very long, though, as we're ready to go right into game here, game 1. Dignitas, they're the ones with that Morrigan. The Terra selection, I think, is the one that we're really used to seeing from Dignitas. Trixtank always likes to play this god.
Absolutely. Trixtank is always looking for some sort of aggressive plays in the action, whether it's playing this Guardian onto Terra, or before back in the day when he played a lot of warriors, he would play the Thor, the Guan Yu, the Sun Wukong every now and then, being just an absolute nuisance, stealing away red buffs with Hog.
Already 2 Sunders picked up by Dig. 0 so far by Burrito. Oh, cancel that. They got 1. Fusify just back to base and picked up the only Sunder for Burrito. So QvoFred has got to be wary of the CC chain, particularly from Dzoni in that jungle, because Thor obviously known for having quite a bit of CC. Yes, QvoFred has a CC immune ultimate and that little disjoint with the 3, but still have to be wary of getting knocked down before you can use that Sunder or your ultimate.
Now, despite not having the Purification Beast for QvoFred, there's a lot of sustain built into the kit out of Camazotz between his second ability as well as just his jump. As long as he hits multiple targets with that, it's very easy for him to sustain up.
Qvo takes a good amount of poke there, eating that Stellar Burst and a bit of the Berserker's Barrage from Dzoni. It looks like Burrito end up getting the better end of the clear, but not enough to warrant an invade on that right-hand side. Instead, they're going to head into their own side of the jungle. Dignitas do what they did on Thursday, which is start in the duo lane just at the red buff, giving up pressure on that first wave and allowing the enemy to try and come in and steal this purple. Good play there at a Fusify and Kespainify to pull that purple buff out of the crushing earth from Trix.
Unfortunately, Trixtank didn't have aggro because Fusify still stayed in the circle, even though the in-hand came out. Nice little attempt by Trixtank trying to really prevent any sort of aggressive action from Burrito Esports, but giving up the purple buff is still not the end of the world for them here because Arkkyl is still going to be in a great spot against Kespainify. Now that he has this red buff, his in-hands are going to hit that much harder, and he's going to be able to out-clear Burrito in this third wave.
Jing is a character that we haven't seen a lot of during the early parts of Season 4, but now starting to come back to the meta a little bit, has gotten some recent buffs. Do you like where Jing is right now? Do you think she's a viable hunter pick?
I think she's still going to always be viable with her passive, being able to get her back to the lane very easily, but with Persistent Gust receiving that little bit of a buff, I'm sorry, the agility receiving a little bit of a buff after you use it, whether or not you get it off the Persistent Gust, you're getting more power than before.
Arkkyl forcing the purification beads, but still very low. That root from Trixtank is what saves his hunter's life. Oracle's got split there, so Dignitas don't even get the vision for giving up Arkkyl's purification beads, as Dzoni eats about half of his HP before teleporting back into the mid lane. As you mentioned, normally against a hunter, being forced back at the 2-minute mark is very detrimental. Against Jing, yeah, no big deal.
No big deal.
Already right back here.
Just like that. Trixtank's going to receive a little bit of poke, trying to keep the wave outside of the tower, or at least buy some time until his own minions leave his tower to allow, or to prevent rather, any gold or experience being lost for Arkkyl as he was making the rotation back. But Khepri's one of these, ooh, in the mid lane though. QvoFred picking up Dzoni.
Was able to find it with help from Zyrhoes, despite Zyrhoes still being only level 4. DeathPanter trying to chase down the jungler, but Zyrhoes' stun will be enough to get his jungler out of danger. First blood goes the way of Team Dignitas, and that's one of the things that's so difficult about against playing Camazotz. That ultimate is a long duration, it's very difficult to juke, and Qvo can dive towers very easily with it.
Beautiful agility from Arkkyl, barely avoiding that abduct out of Fusify. Now, not too much mana on this Khepri, not too much action probably out of Burrito after this wave. Instead, electing to back on out of here, trying to finish off those boots.
Either way, it's Dignitas being okay in this duo lane, despite being down in terms of XP. Burrito, both their duo lane members have their ultimates available. Dignitas still both sitting at level 4. And that's going to be a big boon for Dignitas as soon as Trix in particular hits level 5, as he does off that wave, because that means that that's going to be up. That ultimate's going to be available, but I don't think he's going to get it off here totally, and he will not. Kespainify is going to be able to put Burrito Esports on the board in the summer split after a good gank there from Dzoni.
It's very difficult to lock down Jing, so what's the next best option? Kill the support anytime. You know, Terra does have that Terra's Blessing, but doesn't really have any defensive relics going for that Sunder. A lot of solo lane action here contesting that speed buff.
Supernova came down from DeathPanter, and I think that was enough to secure it away for Burrito, so good use of that ultimate in the early stages of the game. And I think a lot of fans at home may say, oh, you know, you used your ultimate and didn't get any kills, but at the 4-minute mark, that first respawn of buff timers, it's more worth it to use your ult to get a buff than it is to get a kill most of the time.
Absolutely. You're always trying to get more golden experience, and if you know there's not going to be too much action within those 90 seconds of a cooldown, then why not invest this long duration ability just to secure your team a little bit more of an advantage?
Arkkyl picks up the red once more. Dignitas very clearly likes to prioritize giving their hunter player the damage buff, at least early on. And with Morrigan in the mid lane, that isn't a character that's going to be bursting anybody down in the early stages. Morrigan does become incredibly bursty late game, but it really does take quite a few items and quite a few levels to get to that point. Whereas Arkkyl on this Jing can box a little bit earlier on than Zyrhoes can on the Morrigan.
Different styles between Morrigan and Jing, long range versus short range, and we're also looking at that different style within the opposition of Burrito Esports. They're able to get off a lot of damage onto Fusify.
Already very low, but the Scarab's Blessing going to dissuade any further aggression onto him. Dzoni went up into the Anvil of Dawn just to make sure that nothing fishy was happening, and Dignitas going to be forced back, but that's 2 ultimates down from Burrito for 0 from Dig.
And Dzoni actually landed down right next to that puddle. That might be a little foreshadowing if Dignitas is ever able to really start sieging down that tier 1 mid tower. Camazotz on QvoFred can easily start sustaining up during that siege.
That's, we saw the Sunder come out there from Trixtank, and I think that's a big reason why Fusify got shredded through like paper. This early game Sunder has been something that a lot of pros have been talking about quite a bit, and how potent it can be. Do you think that it's worth the risk reward at this stage to get Sunders whenever you have to worry about how much CC the opposition has?
I mean, especially if you're going to get abducted by Fusify into the Tectonic Rift, taking a lot of damage, but you're immune to damage during the ultimate out of QvoFred.
Now Zyrhoes transforms, he's his own version of Camazotz, and another bat out of hell comes through. Qvo cleans it up with the 2, and a hot play out of the mid jungle gets Dignitas 2 kills in the mid lane. Now Kespainify is in quite a bit of trouble. Aegis from Zyrhoes saves his own life as Arkkyl goes up into the airstrike, not enough to finish off Kespainify, but strong plays there out of the mid jungle from Dig.
Now the question remains, if Zyrhoes gets a kill while he's in Camazotz, is there going to be 2 puddles in the same location of a kill?
Now that's true, who knows? I mean, the Morrigan is full of these little interactions that's, yeah, I never really thought about that before. I don't know, that'd be cool to try out. And either way, I mean, that's a lot of sustain for QvoFred, even with 1 pool. That's one of the reasons why Camazotz has really come back into viability, is that he doesn't have to worry about being out of combat when it comes to drinking that blood pool a little bit faster.
Absolutely. He's drinking it every half a second for 10 drinks total for 5 seconds. So he's getting 2% max health. That's 20% max health off of 1 puddle. So if Camazotz was transformed under Zyrhoes, that's going to be 2 pools, topping him off at 40% instead.
Zyrhoes gonna stun out Dzoni here, put a little bit of extra damage on him for clearing that ward, but immediately Dzoni goes aggressive, uses the hammer, but with only Trixtank here, Johnny's gonna be okay.
Smart patience out of Dzoni, holding on to his Berserker Barrage, recognizing Trixtank was right around the corner, would have certainly stopped that with those walls collapsing on him. Still, a very quiet game, I would say, in terms of kills, right? It's only 3-1 at the 8-minute mark, but a pretty commanding lead out of Dignitas with that experience.
The experience is the big one here, totally. We haven't really checked on variety at all in this lane, but he's up about 2 levels right now over top of Sibi on this Osiris. And then QvoFred, he was up 3 levels last time we checked in, 10 to Dzoni 7. Dzoni now level 8, but with Qvo continuing to farm, that's going to continue to grow in my mind. So Burrito has to try and weather the storm in that right side. That being said, Kespainify has a slight lead in that left side, and DeathPanter a slight XP lead on Zyrhoes as well. So there is some advantage for Burrito. It's just not on the right side of the map.
But the problem is, for the right side of the map, is once Variety hits level 12 first, that's when that second relic is going to come online. Variety also having a pretty comfortable gold lead, about 500 over Sibi. And Nike's not one of these gods that excels from behind. Needs to be at least relatively even. And without too many kills on the board for Burrito, you're not really looking to get that second stack out of Nike's passive anytime soon.
Yeah, it's going to be quite a bit at this rate. Remember, you got to kill a large amount of minions. You need 10 team kills, and then you have to have 2 members hit level 20. Trixtank gets stunned out in the mid lane by Dzoni, but no real follow-up. Qvo looking for some poke of his own. That's what Camazotz excels so well at, is just poking away the opposition from a distance.
Arkkyl right around the corner, going to find a knock-up onto DeathPanter, but no real engages. Everything else is on cooldown for Dignitas. But putting this much pressure onto Burrito keeps them in check. It puts them under their tier 1 tower. So as a result, Dignitas can really do whatever they want. They can even look for any sort of invades, or at least check buffs and reset the timers, and then look for the invade later on.
Dignitas is one of those teams that their compositions always have a very clear plan in mind. We see them, you know, pick up Soul in the mid lane, a Hunter, and then a Frenzy from Trixtank. It's very clear that they want to burn objectives and siege you down very quickly in those sorts of compositions. This one from Dig is a little bit odd. What is the goal of this composition in particular? Hold that thought. Qvo has got to worry about Kespainify on this left-hand side, uses his ultimate to immune the Wild Hunt. The Sunder came through. Qvo missed that last shot. Arkkyl with a couple misses as well, and that allows Fusify to come in time and save his Hunter's life. Now Dignitas has to go on the run. They're going to be able to get into safety here, but a couple missed skill shots spell a dropped kill for Dig.
You were talking about what's the goal out of Dignitas, just like that single target action. They're not really looking for those AoE fights. They're looking to catch somebody slipping that might be out of position before the Aegis gets selected for Kespainify at level 12, taking full advantage with a pure burst damage out of Camazotz with the Sunder. All that damage. He missed the third swoop out of that ultimate, which would have certainly killed the Hunter, Kespainify, but also Arkkyl elected to hold on to his ultimate. He didn't want to dive that tier 2 tower. He thought that they could find the kill without it.
Two-man stun and root comes out of Trixtank. Qvo around the back, gonna put some more pressure onto Dzoni, but does not have his ultimate available for the time being. That doesn't mean that Burrito doesn't have to worry about a bat out of hell coming out, because clearly Zyrhoes is ready to go at any given time, transforming into Qvo. And that's been the early game transformation, and I think a lot of that is just because of how far ahead Qvo is, because of the Morrigan absorbing the items that the transformation target has.
Now 2 levels ahead of Dzoni. He's able to pick up that second relic. The red buff invade not too successful here for Dignitas, but they're zoning them away from picking it up for a little bit and able to sneak these oracles. And 1,000 gold lead between these two junglers here. QvoFred has resulted in all 3 kills of his team being able to make a true presence in this game.
This is what we're used to seeing out of Qvo. Always has these excellent online performances. During Season 3, there was even talk about if he was the best jungler in the world or even the best player, but was not able to translate that to land success. He and Team Dignitas have done a better job of that, though, in the one land that we've seen them at Season 4. Had a very, very impressive showing there.
And what's happening in the right? Just the same old thing. Variety poking out Sibi ever so slowly, trying to chase him down. Missing Lord of the Afterlife, but the tether is going to force out the ultimate out of Sibi. Even getting the Terra's blessing off just for good measure, surprisingly enough, out of Trixtank. But all that poke that Variety did hasn't gone to waste. It's basically resulted in a lot of gold and gold denied under the tower, as well as all that chip damage.
So the talk of solo lane right now, Toli, is characters with cleave auto attacks and how they interact with Death's Toll, getting a lot of HP by hitting multiple minions at the same time with a Death's Toll. Nike is one of those characters that has cleave autos. In fact, the only one that starts her attack chain with cleave autos. Why is Nike so rare if that's what's defining the meta?
The difference between the cleave autos of Osiris and Nike is that Osiris's in-hands are a little bit faster than Nike's, so you're resulting in faster clear anyway, because you're able to group up the wave very easily. If you're Variety, you just use your 1 or your 2, you group the melees with the archers, and you're tanking the minions with your passive as well, getting all that damage mitigation. You're not really worried about taking that archer poke, and then that's when the Death's Toll really takes into effect.
Speed buff invade on the right-hand side. Variety, the one dictating the pace once more, up 3 levels onto Sibi, who, remember, doesn't have that ultimate. No Sentinel of Zeus for him, and he's getting shredded immediately. Variety claims his first kill of the game, but you gotta give shout-out to that Sunder. Makes Sibi just look like paper.
Especially before any health comes online for the solo laner, still really working on what looks to be that mystical mail, and now it's Fusify forced to go into the ultimate. The rocks come on, and it's going to force out the ultimate out of Fusify.
Able to revive himself there, 4-1. Dignitas in the lead, and Variety and Zyrhoes, just 2-man this portal down by themselves at the 14-minute mark. It's a 7,000 experience difference, totally 4,600 gold. But that gold lead is, that XP lead is very, very difficult to overcome.
Despite having such a lead for Dignitas, they're not really trying to go for the gold Fury. I think this might be one of the first games that I can remember, at least, where a Portal Demon was secured before a gold Fury was even attempted.
Well, Trixtank and Qvo are alone, just the 2 of them in the middle of 4. Now Arkkyl starting to make the rotation in as Dzoni looking for a target. Qvo's going to be the selection, but he doesn't even need the purification beads. Excuse me, he did use those there, and that ultimate coming out of Trixtank. After hitting level 12, Qvo got those purification beads. So Burrito gets an ultimate and a set of beads, but I believe they lost their red buff. Another successful invade for Dig. As Burrito now get the oracles, get the vision, and start up the Gold Fury. Look at where Variety is, still making his way over. Qvo as well. Qvo doesn't have that ultimate. Big stun coming out of Zyrhoes, and immediately they're on the offensive, but Zyrhoes gets exploded. Arkkyl finds DeathPanter on the back. A double kill for the Hunter for Dignitas as he continues to push into the enemy jungle. Sibi being handled by Variety on the right. He's gonna fall to the solo laner's hands. Qvo finds one as well. Fusify, the only one left up, and Burrito watches as Dignitas goes back to the Gold Fury.
Arkkyl, no hesitation on his ultimate this time, diving into that back line, putting himself in a great position for that double kill. It was a 4-for-1 at the end of the day, as Zyrhoes likes to play aggressive with his positioning every now and then because he trusts his teammates to be able to get the better end of the team fight, whether or not he lives at the end of the day.
Certainly did in that scenario. That entire engagement started off by the mid lane initiation, and it's not like an Ice of Spirit Ball where you can initiate from a distance. Zyrhoes was up close and personal. I don't even know who he tried to turn into in that instance. It could have been the Camazotz to try and give himself some immunity. Also, Nike, an excellent target for the Morrigan to transform into when low, because not only do you have that leap, but you can get a 60% HP shield basically out of nowhere.
A lot of health options for Zyrhoes. You can even go into the Terra to be able to get that global presence again, because Burrito started that Gold Fury knowing that it was going to be a 5-on-3 because Camazotz and Osiris wasn't there. Not only that, there was 2 ultimates down for Dignitas.
Johnny's scared off by Variety, and with good reason. Variety level 16, 2-0 and 1. He's got that Mystical Mail and Sunder combination that have certainly paid dividends thus far. Means 5 Sunders in total in this game. Burrito's got 2, Dignitas has 3, and Kespainify's got nothing left as Arkkyl notches his 3rd kill. Trixtank and Arkkyl, the duo lane for Dignitas, enough to bring down the rookie hunter.
Terra just has too many control options to lock down targets that don't have these jumps available. The dash is good, but jumps are a little bit better because you can get over walls. And without that sort of jump or escape, it's very easy to dive that. You have the root, you have the stun, and then you have the knockup coming out of Arkkyl. The damage now is truly showing with this level 17 Jing with the red buff.
Arkkyl gonna stay on that left side now and start to push down as the rest of Dignitas is in the mid lane. Qvo putting some damage into Fusify, but immediately backs off after taking tower aggro as Variety makes his rotation in. DeathPanter took a couple steps too far forward. He's going to eat about 40% of his HP for it. Arkkyl does secure the tier 1 tower on the left as Dignitas again focus on the invades. Another buff taken away from Burrito.
Trying to still force something. It was all a diversion for a little bit as Arkkyl gets that tier 1 tower in the dual lane, but now that he's finished with that original task, he's moving down the checklist, going to the tier 1 in the mid.
500 from the left, 500 from mid. Dignitas continues their siege. Qvo putting pressure on Kespainify. Welcome back to the lane after your respawn timers. Trixtank decides he's had enough. Wants to head back to base. Variety just creating that zone. Dig, we're 18 minutes in. They're up 9-2 in kills and about 8,000 gold. A very substantial lead for the European veterans.
Very great performance out of Dignitas. There's no weakness this time around compared to their game against Elevate, where they had such a great performance in the early and late game, but staggered in the mid game. Now Dignitas have been doing such a good job grouping up with their experience lead that there's just no team fight presence coming out of Burrito.
Burrito has done a decent job in terms of farming overall. I think that it was just Qvo getting so ahead early on. Johnny was never really given the option to play the aggressor on this Thor, and while Thor can play okay from behind, is now he's behind in HP. Qvo all by himself in the middle of 3. Sunder comes out from Sibi, and Qvo immediately flaps away with his ultimate. As I was mentioning, Thor is one of those characters that can do well from behind, but in terms of pulling out that damage that you need from your jungler, it's so difficult to do whatever the enemy jungler starts off, 3-0 very quickly.
Absolutely, because even if you max out your hammer and your Berserker Barrage, at level 12, you don't have too many points into your Tectonic Rift,
sure.
So the duration of that stun doesn't last too long, so you're not looking for that much follow-up coming out of the mid laner here. The Soul can't get off too much guaranteed damage off of her Supernova, so the presence out of Burrito Esports, they need to figure out a way to stall the game as long as possible to be able to get back into it, at least in the experience department, hit level 20.
Sure, and that, of course that Nike passive requires that 2 members of your team hit level 20 to get that final part. So we head back into game after a short pause there. And this is a good late game composition from Burrito. I mean, Nike is a decent frontliner in the late stages of the game with that Sentinel of Zeus ultimate. Soul and Cernunnos excellent in the late game, and then Khepri could be very impactful as well.
Absolutely, but the way Dignitas has been playing this early game with us, Osiris, Camazotz, not to mention Morrigan making a presence, has been very difficult for Burrito, so much so that they're just getting bullied under their own tier 2 mid tower.
DeathPanter uses his own Aegis, but still takes almost half of his HP and damage. Dignitas now putting pressure on the tier 2 in right. All 3 tier 1s gone off the map for Burrito. Trixtank eats a couple cooldowns there from Dzoni and walks away A-okay. Trix the same level as the Burrito jungler, and look at how many aura items he's got. The Gauntlet of Thieves and that Heart You Word Amulet, that's quite a bit. Sibi has to use his ultimate to stay alive on the right. Another invid goes Dignitas' way. Doesn't have any, no more buffs to take Tolly, so now it's time to go for the bigger objective. This one's gonna be the Portal Demon.
Portal Demon, second one of the game being started by Dignitas. No one from Burrito really wants to contest. They recognize that they can't really fight so far away from their towers to have that 6th man in their side, but Dzoni's still looking for farm. He grabs the mid wave, trying to look for something on the left, but no jungle for him.
And this is Dig just strangling Burrito out, basically. They've got him in a chokehold and just slowly taking away every single buff, pushing that experience lead even higher. The gold lead being 10,000 almost. Nice, sure, that's good. It's certainly for 20 minutes, but that 14,000 XP difference is what's really making it difficult for Burrito to fight.
You're talking about a chokehold. I would say like they got, originally it was an ankle hold that led up to an arm bar that led up to a chokehold, and now they're just waiting for that final tap and submission out of Burrito Esports after securing their 2nd gold fury of the game, getting more than 11,000 in the lead.
Variety first one in the mid. DeathPanter only level 14 and gone. Qvo not just double digits for Dignitas, his 5th, half the kills on the jungler. DeathPanter just explodes there in the mid lane.
I didn't even know Soul was in this game, honestly. How many abilities was just used there? I think 2 abilities just absolutely melted her. Aegis was used earlier on, and for good measure, Dignitas recognizing that forced the issue.
Trix taking out this tower as Dzoni takes to the sky. Sibi forced to jump away as well. Come crashing down, Dzoni on the backside finds Arkkyl and Zyrhoes, but they find him as well. Johnny's gonna be toast. Zyrhoes with his first kill. Qvo and Variety are doing it on the front side as well. Variety with the kill onto Sibi. Fusify's gonna fall here. Double kill for the solo laner Variety as he continues to push all the way into the Titan room. Realizes it's a little too greedy. Heads back over the wall courtesy of his ultimate. As the rest of Dignitas try and knock down the Phoenix. Not quite enough damage to do so quite yet.
They were able to dive the Phoenix with 2 members while getting a kill in the backline with 3. Trixtank's gonna fall to that supernova as DeathPanter has revived the mid Phoenix. Finally gonna fall now, and Dignitas, without the Fire Giant, they're able to secure their first Phoenix of the game.
Nice play there by DeathPanter to get that kill, but now he's on the run. Aegis is up in time to save his life after that persistent gust from Arkkyl. Dignitas gonna back up 10 kills, 22 minutes in. Mid Phoenix gone, and it's only getting worse here, Tolly.
Poor DeathPanter, man. He's just taking so much damage and having to use his relics repeatedly. Variety, though, does make the teleport to 5-on-3 for a little bit longer. Trixtank making the rotation. After he respawns, though, Arkkyl is right around the corner of the speed buff. Fire Giant hasn't been really looked at by Dignitas yet. They're just going to have to wait for a little bit longer, as the fire minions will eventually have to be dealt with by Burrito.
Variety could basically just walk in 1v4 or 1v5 at this stage and survive for the moment. Surprised that Dignitas doesn't go for the Fire Giant after watching Burrito 5-man split those oracles. Fusify going to take about 1/3 of his HP. Between Zyrhoes and Variety. If Variety's going in, he wants that 1v5, but Qvo is here, so he's got some numbers with him. Variety continues to push down that mid lane. Up it goes. Dzoni looking for a target. Sibi slows a couple, and a good dunk coming out of the Thor brings Zyrhoes pretty low. Fusify low on the front side as Arkkyl cleans up Dzoni in the back. Variety finds one. Qvo another. Only DeathPanter and Kespainify still remain, and they're waltzing their way back to base as Dignitas head towards the Fire Giant.
You couldn't ask for a better ult from Dzoni if you paid him to in that situation. He caught 3 members, he got the Berserker Barrage off fully. The Aegis wasn't even used by Zyrhoes because he recognized it's only level 14 Thor. He doesn't have too many items finished. I'm not even taking too much damage here, so what's the point here? Kespainify is going to fall as well as Trixtank and Variety. These 2 duelers really making their presence in this late game.
I think Kespainify just ate 2 Sunders, and good luck surviving in that sort of instance. Another kill goes Dignitas' way. It's Arkkyl dropping the red. This time, he's going to leave it for Zyrhoes, surprisingly enough. Usually Hunters and mid laners. I mean, anyone who's level 20 is like, nah, I deserve this red. Oh, that's because they're giving their other red to Arkkyl. What good team play.
What a great team Dignitas is, honestly. They've made so much progress since the beginning when they were known as Variety's new team, now joining up with the organization Dignitas. This 5 players in this roster, we all question of like how they would really perform, whether or not did they have too much talent, were they too egotistical, what was the case with this team, but Trixtank has definitely been able to lead this team in a very good spot in the beginning of the summer split.
Very much so, you're right, there's been a ton of progress from them from that relegations process in the spring. They're only continuing to get better as Variety in the middle of 4. Look at how little damage he's taking. He's okay to tank this up for the time being. That bought Dignitas enough time to get that left side Phoenix down. Really all they need is Arkkyl. He's got that Rage and Deathbringer. Can't crit the Phoenixes, of course, but that's a lot of power built into that build.
Trixtank looking for a stun, connect onto Sibi. A lot of crit coming out of Arkkyl, getting the first kill onto Sibi. Trixtank sacrificing his life to Kespainify. Dzoni looking to dunk down in the backline, finding Arkkyl, forcing out the beast, but Arkyl's not deterred. He's just going to use his Aegis and keep on firing.
There he is, and then Zyrhoes is going to have to go up into his ultimate as well. It looks like, oh no, excuse me, Arkkyl. I thought I heard him transform there. Arkkyl is going to be the one to get away. The Morrigan continues to plague me in terms of that ultimate. But either way, Dignitas get 2 kills for 1. Trix the only one to fall. They don't want the objectives, they want more kills, totally. Zyrhoes with his second. Another kill courtesy of the CC chain coming out of the Morrigan.
The stun into the knockup from Arkkyl Jing Wei. This is just one of these 2 interactions that makes it so annoying playing against, especially if you don't have the purification beads available. Finding another kill allows Dignitas to secure the respawn mid-Phoenix, and now looking to close out the game after securing this last tower and Phoenix away from Burrito.
Zyrhoes has just been in the front line consistently on this Morrigan, just going into that stealth and finding the stun, and Dignitas has done a beautiful job of executing the target that's stunned out. Happened twice there while waiting for that mid Phoenix to respawn. Only the right side Phoenix still standing, but Dignitas, they know they've got a lot of gold. Their Fire Giant running out in about a minute, so they've got to hurry back to base, spend what remaining they have, and try and get that siege going.
Normally, it's a risky play to go into stealth form for an offensive stun like what Zyrhoes has been doing, but with this kind of a lead from Dignitas, there's no risk involved whatsoever. It's going to take so many abilities just to get Zyrhoes under 50% health, and hey, he has an Aegis still waiting for him afterwards. He's level 19, about to hit level 20 momentarily, and the rest of his teammates are hitting that level 20 mark, really dominating. It's only 27 minutes into the game, and Dignitas already full build.
Very, very impressive stuff out of the Dignitas squad as they secure the Gold Fury. It's their 3rd of the game. Deciding not to use the rest of that Fire Giant to try and push down that right-hand side. Instead, trying to find Dzoni all by himself by the red buff. Looks like Dig secured that one as well. Trix gonna find the root, find the stun. Dzoni has to use his Aegis, and now has to use his ultimate to get out of danger. Zyrhoes chasing there. Sibi jumps away in the mid lane. He also needed to use his ultimate. Dig just putting pressure on Burrito all over the map.
Trying to secure this first game of the 2-game set. Dignitas gonna transpose into the right side Phoenix potential unless they catch DeathPanter slipping.
See, Trixtank again taking quite a bit of damage. He's in the focus consistently. 3 out of Burrito's 4 kills are onto the support. There's a lot of kills on a QvoFred, and he's looking for another. He wants his 8th, trying to chase down Fusify. Not quite enough with that bat out of hell. Variety's gonna be the one to find his 7th instead. Arkkyl used the airstrike. Dignitas can basically use whatever ultimates they want as they knock down this Titan.
I like the strategy that Burrito tried to implement with their picks and bans. You know, they took away the Soul and the Cernunnos, but I think that strategy that they implemented was more anti-Dignitas than pro-Burrito.
Sure.
They need to find their own identity and stick with what works for them.
And that's the difficult balance that so many teams struggle with, totally, especially when first breaking into the SPL, is what's our identity and how do we draft to really fit that well? And sometimes it takes time, so instead you look at stopping what your opposition wants to do, but a team like Dignitas has so many different strategies that it's very difficult to just take one pick away from them and say, aha, what are you going to do now?
I think it was a better option to not focus out Arkkyl and shut him down, but more trying to shut down QvoFred and Variety. That solo jungle combination of Dignitas is the key success for the early game momentum that Dignitas builds off of heading into that mid game.
I mean, yeah, they ended the combined, what, 14-0? I mean, Got to shut that down at some point. Ready to go.